Today I'm going to be talking about a healthcare company that doesn't actually make any drugs or any healthcare products. This company could be classified as a software company, but makes software for pharmaceuticals. That company would be Veeva, ticker VEEV. So what is Veeva? Veeva builds cloud software that the entire pharmaceutical and biotech industry runs on. From a moment the drug is first tested on humans, all the way through the moment a sales rep walks in the doctor office to promote it. Basically, any process of a drug, Veeva has a software that can do it. So what is this full vertical system I'm talking about? Basically, it's a software for each stage of a drug's life cycle, not just the first or last part of it. And it's extremely rare among businesses. The development cloud manages clinical trials, regulatory submissions to the FDA, and patient safety data. After the drug completes its trial, it's documented inside Veeva's vault. Switching to a competitor would be catastrophic. The switching cost here isn't just money, it's existential risk. Their quality cloud. Every batch of medicine manufactured must be documented, tested, and approved. Regulators audit these systems, so no company is just going to risk a FDA failure by switching their software last minute. Commercial cloud. Once a drug is approved, pharma sales teams manage their doctors' relationships, promotional materials, and marketing content through Veeva's CRM. Vault CRM now runs on Veeva's own proprietary platform, cutting the last remaining dependency on Salesforce infrastructure entirely. Last is their data cloud, which in the simplest terms is where they provide data for healthcare professionals and organizations in the world. Who they are, what they specialize in, how to reach them. Regulators want like an unbroken trial from the first trial to the last sales call. If everything lies in Veeva, why not just go with them? And it also makes it automatic. It's convenient and it's a moat for Veeva. The switching cost moat is when like a small biotech company uses Veeva for its clinical trials, documentation, regulatory submissions, quality records, and sales data inside the platform. Their staff are trained on it. The auditors know it. There are larger pharmaceutical partners who also use Veeva expect it. To switch to Salesforce or any other competitor would need to migrate all that data, retrain everyone, rebuild the workflow, risk errors, documents, regulatory issues, and so on. For a small biotech company, one big mistake can set back a drug approval for years. The cost of switching isn't just financial. For a drug company, it's potentially the difference between getting a drug approved or not. That's why when a company is embedded in Veeva, they're basically there for life. This creates what investors call sticky revenue. Subscriptions that renew automatically, not because customers are lazy, but because leaving would be genuinely dangerous to their business. And as each new module is added, quality management on top of the clinical trials, data, cloud, on top of the CRM, the switching cost compounds. Veeva stops being a software vendor and starts being infrastructure. Next, I'm going to cover their kind of AI moat and the layer of the company that goes mostly unnoticed. In my thesis, this is where the story kind of gets more compelling. Veeva spent nearly 2 decades embedded inside the most regulatory industry in the world, processing clinical trial data, regulatory submissions, safety reports, and commercial interactions for over 1,500 companies. This data has become the foundation for their AI strategy. Veeva AI agents are already live and being rolled out across every part of the platform throughout 2026. These aren't generic AI tools bottled on as afterthought. Each agent is purpose-built for a specific high-impact task inside the drug development process. Quick Check Agent scans marketing materials against FDA compliance rules, brand guidelines, and regulatory requirements before human review even begins. Moderna's marketing operations director said it moves them closer to a process where parts of medical, legal, and regulatory review could become nearly touch-free. Pre-call agent. Before a sales rep visits a doctor, the AI pulls together the doctor's prescribing history, past interactions, and so on. Novo Nordisk said it lets their field team focus on the value parts of their jobs. Farmers, and there's so many more different parts of their AI agent and so on for different parts of the biotech world that I haven't covered. But the bit I want to end this AI segment on is that this AI moat is very defensible. Companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google could theoretically build AI tools for pharmaceuticals, but they would be starting from scratch, no proprietary data, no regulatory validation, no existing workflows. Veeva AI agents already have direct, secure access to industry-specific data. Next, I want to cover the Salesforce threat and why I feel it's overstated. The primary reason Veeva stock is roughly down around 45% from its high was fear of Salesforce entering the science software market. This fear deserves to be taken seriously, obviously. Salesforce is a massive company with very deep pockets with a bunch of cash, but I think the threat is significantly overvalued for many reasons. First, Veeva CEO Peter Grassen didn't just compete with Salesforce, he helped build Salesforce. He was the senior vice president of technology, responsible for building Salesforce core platform before leaving to found Veeva. He basically seen a gap in the market that Salesforce wasn't covering and decided to make his own company instead. But the reason I'm saying this is because he knows how Salesforce work, how they think, how they're going to try expand, and so on. Second, Salesforce is basically building one type of product for many different things instead of a whole system from start to finish. You need to basically have everything like FDA compliance, clinical trial documentation, and so on. You can't just have one thing and expect to be Veeva. Oracle tried to compete with Veeva for years with effectively unlimited resources and never managed to knit a unified platform. Salesforce faces the same fundamental challenges. The existing customer base is protected by switching cost, the moat I've already described. Salesforce's realistic opportunity is winning new companies that haven't yet chosen a platform. And even then, Veeva has a direct counter strategy, which is the next part of my thesis, conveniently, which is their land and expand strategy. Veeva recently launched Veeva Basics, a simplified pre-configured version of their platform, designed specifically for emerging biotechs. More than 100 companies have already adopted it. Critically, it runs on the same underlying Vault platform as the full enterprise product, meaning companies can upgrade their subscription as they grow with no migration required. This is a direct counter to Salesforce, and I feel could be huge for them in the future. Veeva can afford to do this because they offer highly competitive introductory prices to small biotechs because it knows a long-term value of a locked-in customer is enormous. With $6.6 billion in cash and zero debt, Veeva can subside new customer acquisitions in a way that don't hurt the business at all. Basically, once a small biotech signs up, the expansion is a natural and almost inevitable. They add quality management, then regulatory submissions, then commercial CRM as they grow towards drug approval, then data cloud, and so on. Each module added makes switching more painful. Each year that passes deepens the institutional knowledge embedded in Veeva's platform. Basically, they find a business slowly use products, over time they use more and more, and over the years they eventually just pay for the full platform and use that as they go on. Over time, this strategy will slowly compound and make the company grow more, giving them more cash, which could fund new acquisitions, dividends, share buybacks, etc. Like I said, the balance sheet is a strategic weapon for Veeva. They hold $6.6 billion in cash versus no debt at all. This isn't just a sign of financial health. It can be used as a weapon against competitors. It means that they can heavily invest in AI without having to worry about costs or all that, or having to get more capital. It means that they can acquire smaller specialist companies that bolt into the platform and expand its addressable market. And that means they can do this all simultaneously while returning capital to shareholders. Recently through a $2 billion share buyback program, reducing the share count and making every remaining share worth more over time. Compare this to any other competitor with Veeva while managing debt. Justifying their own discounts to shareholders is going to be extremely hard. Next, I have another interesting part of my thesis, which is their enterprise consulting arm. Large pharma companies like Abbott or Johnson & Johnson don't want software. They also want dedicated Veeva specialists embedded in their organization. Custom workflows designed built around their specific regulatory process. And right now it isn't too big for Veeva, but I can see a lot of potential in this new sector that they would have. If they were to scale this into a full enterprise service arm for its largest customers, it would dramatically increase revenue and cash flow. It would make switching to competitors even more unthinkable. Next, I have the valuation opportunity. Veeva currently trades at approximately $163 per share, roughly 45% below its 52-week high, despite the underlying business growing around 16% and earnings 27%. In its most recent fiscal year, the sell-off reflects market anxiety around Salesforce competition rather than any deterioration in the actual business. Analyst consensus cites a price target of around 274 to 280, implying over 70% upside from current levels. Even Morningstar estimates the stock is around 32% undervalued. I assume in the future the stock could go way ballistic if they can hit everything on the dot. If they can expand into new industries and get more customers and more businesses, they add this new extended arm I was talking about, shares could probably go to plus 1,000, but that would be over a 10 to 15 year horizon and is very speculative. Obviously, this more than likely won't happen, but it is a possibility. But I do think over time the stock will grow. Finally, if you made it here, thanks. This video has been my longest one, but I'm going to end it with my conclusion of what I think about Veeva. Veeva Systems, I feel, is not a speculative bet. It's a strictly advantaged business embedded at the center of an industry that cannot function without it, led by a CEO who literally has experience with one of their biggest competitors. They're sitting on a fortress balance sheet with no debt and building an AI that no one else can really replicate because no one else has the data. I think the reason for the current discount is based on short-term near-market threats. So the main question is whether Veeva will be a larger, more valuable company in 10 years. Given the switching costs, the AI moat, the balance sheet, the vertical integration, I have a strong feeling the stock will grow. And at a current 160 per share price, I think it is a great time to buy, even in the short term, as they're still growing at around 16%. And a management team that is experienced in the sector and the CEO who obviously has worked at a high level with competitors, I think the stock is a no-brainer. But what do you think? And obviously, this isn't financial advice. Please do your own due diligence when investing, and thanks for watching.